అవసరం లేదా? అంత తక్కువరా?
Move forward and occupy the seats and Sikasa chairman to welcome CEO M. Sunil Kumar, SRC member. I request the chairperson of Vijayawada branch CAG Sitashiri and chairman Sikasa U. Jayan to welcome CEO Sunil Kumar with a book bouquet and shawl. I request CEO Sunil Kumar to address the students.
Most highly respected profession in India. You leave all other doctors and engineers, but it is the highly respected profession. Since why I said glamorous is we should have a godfather in this profession also. You know, godfather means when you have a CA at the beginning, then only you will be treated as a highly respected profession. So I request all the students here, get it as early as possible. Then you will feel difference. What you are student, what you are member of this profession. You will know the difference. First of all, first subject is that one. So complete it at the earliest. So you will grab the opportunities that we have a lot of opportunities in this profession also. Now second, the practice what we are doing or the opportunities what we have till now is different, and what we are having ahead is a lot of changes is coming in this profession. We know whether the practice will be there or not, but the opportunities for this profession or the practice will have a lot of scope and need for the entrepreneurs. Since the technology is coming in a massive way, you are seeing SSP portal, right? It's a simple example. Within 3 years, the SSP has been developed in a massive and attractive way. Like, but it's a simple example how the technology is evolving in our day-to-day life. In a similar way, accounting. After artificial intelligence, today we have a topic of artificial intelligence. We will see how the accounting profession will be deviated. We don't require accountants. We require only the manpower where the intelligence can be used by our profession. So regular practice not at all required for the future. Only the persons who have intelligence will survive. Even the AI requires the manpower where our profession is developing. So you have to adopt those technologies along with your profession that you are doing. Right now you are studying. So these are the two topics, and the third is women empowerment in ICI. When we are studying we used to see women a lot of, we can count on fingers. Now we can see in the hall, one side is 1/3 and this side is 2/3. So majority of women empowerment is coming back. We need a real measure. I welcome you all to this profession, and also the past percentage when we compare, the women is taking over a large stage. So we have to catch up. Fourth thing, be active in when you qualify or whether you are doing any jobs, be attached to the institute. So even for non-qualified, we have a lot of opportunities in our institute that we provide. So be in touch with the institute, and always we will be there to support you at any point of time. Thank you, Vijayawada branch, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I request Sikasa member Sona to say a few words about activity, sir.
Good morning, everyone. This is Shamla. Now I am honored to introduce motivation session speaker MP Vijay Kumar sir. Engaged with passion, pragmatic advisor and a proven executor. Over 30 years of experience in industry and as a chartered accountant in practice. Coming to work experience, first he has worked in Suzlon Finance and next moved as a partner in Yogananda and Ram LLP. At present, he plays as Chief Financial Officer. And coming to directorships, he is a present director in LIC of India, Heritage Foods Limited, Sila India Software Services Private Limited, and a former directorship in National Internet Exchange of India, HBRL India Limited. He is also a resource person for professionals and for students. He is also a council member of Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. He has published many books for professionals and students. Over to you, sir.
As well. And Vijayawada and Visakhapatnam are two places which are very special to me for the reason that I grew up in these two towns. I studied at NSM Public School here at Patamata. So my association with Vijayawada is quite deep. So thanks to Shivin and the executive committee members for the invite. And over the next 45 minutes or so, I'll share some thoughts, having been a teacher for about 20 years and gifted with the opportunity of being part of these 5 people's life whom I'm seeing in front. So all these 5 children, of course, they're all grown up now. I've been fortunate to be part of their lives when they pursue their chartered accountancy. So I'll share my so make that 5 or 6. So what I'll do is over the next 45 minutes, I'll share my thoughts, having been a teacher for nearly 20 years, interacting with students pursuing intermediate and final, and having been part in the last 6 years in the Institute's Board of Studies and allied functions. I'll share my thoughts which you can factor in your preparations for the examination. I'll also leave some 10 or 15 minutes for you to interact on anything which you would like to discuss. So first and foremost, I'd like you all to have this very strong in your mind as a student. Complimenting you, all of you, for having taken the choice of pursuing an accounting course, pursuing the Chartered Accountancy course of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, each of you here, I don't know how many of you are actually aware, you are at present pursuing a global accounting course. What you are pursuing is not an accounting course confined to the borders of India. What all of you are pursuing is a global accounting qualification. The moment you are done with your CA final, a year from now or 2 years from now, the moment you are done with it, the institute has mutual recognition agreement with accounting bodies of many countries, and what this mutual recognition agreement means is the moment you register for an Australian CPA or an AACW of London, most of these countries, we currently have about 12 or 13 accounting bodies across the world where we have mutual recognition agreements. All that you need to do is register for those courses, maybe pursue one paper or 2 papers, and you will get an additional accounting course qualification inside you. Beyond that, as part of your course curriculum, whether it is accounting, whether it is audit, whether it is taxation or finance related subjects, each of those subjects, the course structure has only international education. For example, when you are pursuing accounting course, accounting subject, in your CA final you all learn Ind AS, which is nothing but IFRS, which is the standards followed by all over the world. Similarly, when you are pursuing auditing, the 46 audit standards which you have, it is exactly the same standards which are followed by all the countries across the world. In India, we call it standards of auditing. Internationally, they are called international standards of auditing. There is no difference whatsoever. So, across these 3 years, particularly during your articleship, when you are applying your knowledge of auditing, when you are applying your knowledge of accounting, you are all getting trained to apply global standards. And as we speak today, of the nearly 4 lakh chartered accountants who are there, almost about 70 to 80,000 are already working outside of India, and there are at least 70,000 people working for shared services organizations in Gurgaon, Pune, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai. At least 70,000 chartered accountants who are working in shared service organizations for global corporations. Today, as we speak, at least 90% of the Fortune 500 companies, the top 500 companies in the world by revenue size, at least 90% of those companies, the accounting happens out of these 5 cities which I told you. And these organizations are mass employers of chartered accountants who recruit annually. 6,000-7,000 chartered accountants get recruited in these 5 locations, and these organizations, they do accounting services for a company like, for example, Shell. A company like Shell, who has oil and refining activities across the world. The accounting happens out of Chennai. The same is true with somebody like GE, General Electric, which is also a global corporation. Accounting happens out of Gurgaon, happens out of Chennai, and the same is true with almost every large organization. The point I'm driving to all of you is that you need to first understand that knowingly or unknowingly, all of you have chosen to pursue a global accounting qualification. So in terms of your thinking or in terms of your effort, both of them should be of that particular caliber. For example, I'll give a very simple example to connect. If you are playing a domestic cricket match, if you are playing a league match in Vijayawada, or you are playing a Ranji match in Vijayawada, the hard work you have to put and the thinking levels are so much. But if you want to play the same game at an international level, your aspiration levels, your thinking levels and your hard work also have to be at a different level. So this particular course is not about a domestic accounting qualification course, it's a global accounting qualification. The same is true for the area of taxation as well. Taxation globally, we have what we call the OECD principles. While each country has their own tax legislations, the principles are the same across the world. So I have exposure to India taxation and US taxation, and between the two, the way you determine business income, the way you determine capital gains, the way you have set off and carry forward, there are no differences, except that procedural matters are different, but principles are exactly the same. So with this backdrop in mind, I want you to register this particular statement very strong in your mind before I pursue further on the topic. Each of us generally, as individuals, as human beings, we all tend to make an assessment about ourselves. We have a feeling about ourselves based on our assessment of our ability to achieve. So we think we are great, we think we are so and so, because we have an assessment of our potential, what we can achieve. But one hard truth which all of us need to accept, which is the general rule, that the outside society, the society at large, whether it is the clientele or the industry, if you want to work in industry, everybody will recognize you, will accept you only on the basis of what you have achieved. So no matter how much potential you feel you have, it doesn't matter. What matters is what I have achieved. Having passed my chartered accountancy course in time, having got the relevant marks, having been able to get a rank, so on and so forth, whatever credentials. So everybody will assess based on what you have achieved. So potential can be unlimited in your assessment, it just doesn't matter. But as a general rule, you all need to accept the hard reality that if I want to get articleship in a firm of my choice, I need to have passed intermediate, ideally the first attempt, ideally with aggregate, which is above 60% or so, whatever. So once you have those credentials, then nothing else matters, and that's the hard truth of life. So with this background in mind, I will share with you my experience and my few thoughts to you in terms of how you prepare yourself for the examination. Examination, not just the examination of your CA intermediate or CA final, but the examination which will be there right through your life. I'll give a very small example. Even today, now when I am speaking to you, I am getting examined by all of you. All of you are examining me, assessing me, forming your own views about me. So what's important for you to realize is that Examination just doesn't stop with the 6 or 8 papers of intermediate or the 8 papers of final. It is a continuous process throughout life. There are certain examinations which are structured examinations which you have to write and go through. But otherwise, in day-to-day life, you are being examined every day in your life. If somebody or the other is keeping on examining you as to whether you are relevant to the society, whether you fit for the society, whether you stay relevant for the society. In this context, the principles which I have understood in life over a period of time, as a student in my corporate career, little bit of entrepreneurship in practice and various kind of. And I strongly subscribe to these 6 golden principles. I will briefly try to articulate all of these 6. And these 6 are true for your student life and tomorrow for your professional life as well. First and foremost is an understanding of the purpose of my existence. Why do I exist? That is what we call as the mission statement. I am sure many of you, when you have gone to, let's say, a hospital or any of these corporate setups, in the reception area, you will find mission statement, you will find mission statement. So what does that mission stand for? Mission stand for. Mission is the purpose of my existence. Why do I exist? What is the reason I exist? So reasons can be, I want to make a difference to society. Somebody can have that vision. Somebody can have a purpose for existence that I want to enhance my knowledge in ABC areas. Somebody's purpose can be, I want to understand life more. What is this life all about? Somebody would like to understand more about a particular area of interest, let's say finance, music, whatever it is. But there is a purpose of existence. You should identify, and please note, all of you at this age of 18, 19, 20, 21 are not there as yet. You might think this is the purpose of my existence, but please note, you are too young to even know what it is. You are all now at an age where you should be putting efforts to understand or discover the purpose of my existence. You should first go through a phase where you should try to understand as much as possible what is happening around, so that you can get an idea eventually that yes, this is the purpose for which I am there. So don't try to go back to the evening and say that I have identified that this is the mission. That is not the case. Because you have still not seen the whole world, you have not seen different types of people. So unless you get that little more of exposure, you will not be in a position to define the purpose of your existence. The second important step is to have what we call as a vision. I am sure all of you have heard observations like visionary leader, this leader has a vision. So you keep coming across those observations. What do you mean when somebody says he is a visionary? He is a visionary leader. So vision basically means to what extent I can see. I can see so far, I can see so wide. So the extent of vision you have is directly proportional to the amount of knowledge you have accumulated and the experience which you have. So as time passes by, your knowledge levels and your interaction with people, your experience levels will help you to define your vision. Today as a student, you have a limited vision. Next 2-3 years, I think I should become a chartered accountant. I should try to either start practice, join an existing firm, or get into industry, or relocate to a happening place like Mumbai. I want to explore the financial capital of India, or I want to go to London or Singapore and explore global markets. Some vision you have. So depending on your relative circle, friend circle, people who have traveled abroad, depending on those interactions, you have some vision. I want to do this in the next 2 years, next 3 years, that much vision. That is called as vision. So somebody like me, with 30 years behind me, I am in a position to see what I can do next 5 years, what I can do next 10 years. But even I don't know beyond 10 years what I am going to do. I know I can do so much. So that much of vision I have as to what will happen in the economic environment, what will happen geopolitically, and in that ecosystem, how much I can travel. I have some vision. So for you also that vision will develop over a period of time. At this point of time, you can see so much distance, so much wide. You need to identify within those next 2-3 years, I will achieve so much, I will achieve so much. The third thing which you need to do, third element is to have a plan. It's not sufficient to have a vision. There can be people who are extraordinary visionaries. They know that yes, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. But what is important is to execute that vision. All of us know this very often heard statement is not having a plan is preparing yourself to, is like planning to fail. So it's extremely important that if you want to have a success, plans are very, very important, and all of you should have a plan which should be well documented. So plan should not be something abstract in your mind, and plan is something which you should be able to articulate confidently. And I would strongly recommend as students, while mission, vision are very big statements which all of you will develop over a period of time, plan is something which I want to become a chartered accountant in the next 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. That much plan you have, that much you should be in a position to plan. And for that particular plan, there are so many things to be done. I would strongly encourage each of you that whatever plan you develop, share it with the person who can be extremely critical of you. So that person, personally and ideally, I would recommend that that person should be your mother. My own experience, whether it's my personal life or having seen lives of so many children, if there is one person who can be extremely critical about you and who can very confidently scold you and keep telling you that what you have not achieved, it is that one person. I say this because if it is a father, general tendency, I am also a father now, typically general tendency of grown-up children, the moment fathers tell something critically, the tendency is to have a distance. You try to avoid to such an extent that you return only 1 out of 3 calls. I see some of you smiling now. So that is a tendency which naturally develops. But when it comes to mother, that particular plan which you share, educate that person. Even though mother may be not familiar with the chartered accountant course, doesn't matter. But have it as a practice to share that I intend to do these 3 things this month, these 5 things in the following month, and end of the month, have the process and the courage to get back to mother and say that I thought I will do these 3, I will do only 2. So later be critical of you or give those encouraging words to help you to catch up with the same. And that kind of a planning is extremely important. I have come across in my experience as teacher with 2 types of students. There are one category of students who excessively plan, who plan so much that the whole day and night they spend time only on planning. And there are other set of students who ignore the planning. Neither of it will work. It's very important to spend some amount of time, have a plan, close it, share it, and not keep visiting the plan every day and keep revising it. The last three are input, process, and output. So for any plan to be effective, you have to ensure that there are the right kind of ingredients, right kind of inputs are put in place. Just think of preparation of a food item. Just think of any preparation of food item. The quality of food is directly proportional to the quality of inputs you give it. So inputs, the right type of inputs, every input, you can't afford to remove 2 or 3 inputs, nor can you compromise on the quality of those inputs. So it's very important that you should have those right kind of inputs. Similarly, when you are executing a plan, you should have a very clear idea of, for this plan to be effectively implemented, these are the 10 inputs I require. This is the quality of the inputs I require. This is the quantity of inputs which I require. Please note the 3 expressions and try to correlate with something as simple as a food preparation. So there is number of items of inputs, there is quality of each of these inputs, and there is a quantity of each of these inputs. So you need to have all of those which should be applied, which should be put in place. You should be in a position to identify those inputs. For example, as a student, whether it is some amount of self-study which is important, some amount of writing mock test, that is a input, or whether it is getting a specified type of books and reading, or attending classes, or having some kind of group discussions, all these are inputs. You need to identify what are all those type of inputs which are required, because for some subjects, what type of inputs are required may not be relevant for the other type of subjects. So subject wise, you need to identify what inputs are required for you to get the necessary output. The next step is the right processing. So you can have the right number of items, right quality of items, and the right quantity of items. Just think of again a food preparation. Just think of again a food preparation. So when you do a food preparation, you can't start with an item which you have to add as the 6th item. You can't put it as the first item. It will not come out. It will not come out. So there is a particular method to follow. And when it comes to exams as well, or preparing for an examination is concerned, there is a particular process to be followed. For example, when you read my own experience, let's take a theory paper. When you read a theory subject, the first thing I need to do is a particular chapter. If it is, let's say, 15 pages, the first reading, the first 15 pages which I read, I need to get a comprehension of what this chapter is trying to talk about. I cannot try to understand the subject fully, but I should get a sense of what this 15 pages is trying to communicate to me. Then there has to be a second reading. The second reading should be about understanding everything which is there in those 15 pages. The third reading should be about these 15 pages, how are they tested in the exam? What is the type of questions which come in the exam? Is it a direct question or is it an application related question? So the third reading I need to read from an examination orientation point of view. The fourth occasion, I need to see whether I am in a position to translate this into an answer paper. So there is a process to be followed. So I cannot skip the first one and start with the fourth one or the third one. I need to go through that very systematically if I have to achieve my results. And all of us follow some sports or the other, whether it can be an individual sport, whether it is a tennis, javelin, whatever individual sport, or whether it is a team sport, and all of us have seen enough number of movies which are biopics on sports persons. So if you look at those sports professionals who have achieved such big names, and that is the same aspiration which all of you carry here, you want to achieve similar kind of professional height in the area which you have chosen. If you want to achieve that kind of professional attainment, it is extremely important that you realize the process which they go through. Just look at every sports biopic. So if somebody wants to learn a sport like cricket, the person doesn't go in the morning 5 o'clock and start batting from morning 5 o'clock till evening 7 o'clock. You don't do that. There are so many things to be done before you get to the batting stage, whether it is fitness, mental fitness, there's so many things to be done. So similarly here also, you have to go through that process. You have to go through that process, and anybody who follows that process consistently will get the desired result. The beauty of process is the result becomes predictable. So when you know that I do step 1 followed by step 2 followed by step 3 followed by step 4, the result becomes predictable. But if you are random, the result is also random. At times it may be in your favor. More often than not, it is not in your favor. So what is important is, as professionals, please realize all of us have chosen to be in an area which is a professional area and not an area which is for creativity. So if you look at an area of creativity, let's say a film, story writing, or a music. So those cases, your thinking capabilities, your mental acumen should be the ability to think outside, think beyond. So in those cases, if you start thinking in a structured manner, you will never achieve those heights because you will be doing exactly the same thing which everybody else did. But if you want to do something which nobody did, then you have to be different. That is about areas of creativity. But when it comes to a professional exam or doing something professional, those cases you have to necessarily follow a methodical process, and you can't skip that particular process. If you skip it, the results will not be predictable. By random, you might succeed, but more often than not, you will not have that success. The last is output. Having gone through a very systematic process of planning, having the right inputs, and going through a methodical process, output will come. And I can tell you from my experience over time, having seen students, I can tell you, I have never come across a student who has approached systematically, not qualified as a chartered accountant, or even in professional life. Anybody who has approached very systematically a particular goal, they have all been successful. People have not been successful when they are doing things at random, but people who have always followed a process have always been successful. So these six elements, whether it is your examination of inter or final, or tomorrow in your professional career, these six elements are the most important. Today, as you stand, the mission, the purpose of your existence is, I want to be an accounting professional. This mission is not your life, but today, in your limited experience, that is your mission. But as you discover yourself, the mission will evolve. Similarly, vision, you are able to see next 2-3 years, these are things I want to do. Have a plan for the vision to become a reality, and for that plan to be executed, identify inputs. I told you 3 things are very important in the inputs. One is what are all the inputs, second is the quality of inputs, third is the quantity of inputs. All the 3 are very important, and once you have those inputs in place and you follow a process, the results will certainly happen. Now, for a chartered accountancy student to succeed, there are 3 I's which are important. One is the interest in the course, second is intelligence, and third is involvement. Of these three, many of us might have an impression that involvement or interest or intelligence requirement is very high. But my experience, again I am sharing, to be successful as any professional, forget chartered accountancy, any professional, what is very important is the interest has to be extremely high. You can have lesser level of intelligence, but as far as interest is concerned, it should be absolute. You should be breathing it. You should like it so much. And I will just leave a word for all of you. If any of you have a liking for this course, which is less than 100%, I think you should call it quits. You should call it quits. What is most important is I like and I want to be an accounting professional. That should be very, very strong. Lesser intelligence is acceptable. A level of involvement which need not be the highest is also acceptable. But the interest to be an accounting professional has to be absolute. That is the most important. Take for example, any sport itself. You have sports personalities like Sachin, you have sports personality like Rahul Dravid, so on and so forth. So if you look at those people, some of them are more talented than the other. More talented than the other. So but if you look at the common denominator of all those guys, if you look at the common denominator of all those guys who have succeeded in the long run. Succeeding for 1 year, 2 years, 2 seasons, 3 seasons is not success. Success is over a long term. What you will find is the common denominator for all of them is that their interest is extremely high. They will not breathe anything beyond that. And that's what is most important for all of you. The second, as far as intelligence is concerned, this course does not require an intelligence of the likes of Kalpana Chawla to run the aircraft or so, or spacecraft. You don't require that level of intelligence. My own experience, an average intelligence, you don't require to be very strong in mathematics, very strong in a language. An average intelligence is more than enough. And when it comes to involvement, you need to have an involvement which is adequate enough to achieve the goal. Now, planning, preparation and practice are areas which I told. Let me get to a few specifics related to preparing for the examination. So when it comes to your exam preparation, most children I have come across have a tendency to avoid the study material. There is a tendency to follow the materials given by the coaching centers or other textbooks which are referred. That is suicidal. That is suicidal. The institute study material is paramount, and as far as study material is concerned, there is a particular way in it which is written. Maybe there are other materials which are available, which are more reader friendly, but when it comes to your preparation and examination coverage and questions to be asked, the study material is extremely important. Anyone missing the institute study material and trying to read alternate books, you are doing it at the cost of a risk which you are taking. It might succeed, may not succeed. But pursuing the institute study material, success is guaranteed. You can add some other literature on top of it, but you should never replace the institute study material. That's extremely important. And I find over time the quality of study materials have only improved. The second point which I'd like to highlight for all of you is every subject, whether it is accounting, costing, law, audit, whichever paper, please try to ensure good conceptual understanding. This particular course is not, I repeat, is not a memory-based course where you can memorize something and you can vomit. By following that model, you might succeed one exam, but you will get caught at the final level. And if your stars are on your side, you may even qualify the final exam, but in your professional career you will hit the wall. I have come across so many chartered accountants who are even rank holders, single-digit rank holders, who have been thrown out of job within 3 months after joining the job. Exactly 3 months, they have been thrown out of the job because they never had an understanding of the concepts. So they knew the examination, some luck that memory-based approach has helped, but that is only a random process by luck it can help, but later it will show up and it will not help you. Please make it a point that every subject try to understand, irrespective of whatever subject you learn, try to understand the concepts. And when I mean understand the concepts, I'll also leave a small tip. Suppose a subject has some 40 concepts. It's not necessary that all the 40 concepts I should understand. There will always be, there are human beings, there will always be 3, 4, 5, which somehow I am not able to connect, I am unable to understand the 3, 4, 5 concepts. So those cases, don't break your head, park that aside, as long as those concepts are 5% of the total, 10% of the total, doesn't matter. In fact, in this particular course, when they say the pass is 50%, it is assumed that the students will not know 100% of everything, but they will know 100% of at least 70% of the subject, 100% of at least 80% of the subject, and that 70-80% of subject, you should understand it super well. And that's extremely important. I'll give you a small example, my own personal example. When I was a student, taxation was one of my very interesting subjects. But in taxation, I understood business income, I understood set-off, appeals, investigation, all that stuff. But there's one thing which somehow I could never connect. It's something I could never connect because I never came across it in my personal life. That was the concept of Hindu divided family. So I somehow could never understand that. I tried a little bit, but later I decided that I will not break my big way. I'll just park that aside. It never came in the exam, and even if it came in the exam, the risk was only 4 marks. So there are some concepts for some reason. It's not a very difficult one, but as a student, as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old, at that time in my home, there's nothing from the Hindu identity family. I could understand what it is. I could understand an individual, I could understand a partnership firm, I could understand a company. But what is this HUF? I never could visualize and connect. So there will always be those few concepts which you are unable to connect, don't break your head. But 70 to 80% of whatever subject, you should ensure your concepts are super strong. You should be able to understand them in very simple words. The third important tip I'd like to leave as part of the preparation for exam, and I'm sure all of you are aware but you don't follow. Just go back to your 12th standard. 2 years back, 4 years back, just go back to your 12th standard. And when you look at your 12th standard, all of you, if you recollect your school days, the 12th standard syllabus was completed by October or November. Exam was in March, but the syllabus was completed by October or November. Am I right? And what did you do after that? Day after day, week after week, in your school, you were made to write the mock exam, mock test, subject wise, paper wise, chapter wise, this wise. You are made to write the exam every day. And when you went for your 12th standard exam, which I believe is the most important exam in life, you can afford to fail in CA exam, but none of us can ever dream of failing a 12th standard exam because it will be fatal. The home will deserve you, and they will tell, let's look at what type of small business you should start, shop you have to put. The thinking will go on those lines. So 12th is not an exam you can ever take a risk. And if you look at your 12th standard examination, having gone through those monthly, daily, weekly tests, did any of you ever feel that you are likely to fail the 12th exam? Did any of you ever feel you likely to fail the 12th exam? Anyone? Say yes, no? No. Now, what made the difference for you is the testing on a continuous basis. And all of you are eagerly waiting, when will the main exam come? I'll be done with it. Question was whether I get 99% or 89% or 79%. That was the only question. But none of us ever approached the exam thinking that failure is a possibility. So if you look at this professional course and any professional course, most children give up something which they know is critical but they don't follow. So if you have to crack your inter exam or CA final exam, what is important to realize is that your passing is dependent on how the person who is valuing is assessing the application of your knowledge. He is not assessing your knowledge, he is assessing how you are applying the knowledge. So when you keep on reading, you are accumulating knowledge. But the application of knowledge comes only when you are writing. So I would strongly urge upon all of you, and let me tell you, in CA, if the pass percentage is whatever it is only because, not because the students are weak, not because the students are not capable, it's only because students do not develop this habit or discipline of writing those mock tests or model exams. I'll give you another small example. I don't know how many of you will remember. Of course, it's a little generation shift. You all belong to the Virat Kohli generation, but we all belong to the Sachin Tendulkar generation. And all of you know Virat Kohli what kind of phase. So all of you know what kind of phase he is going through, and all of you can pray that today he does well. Now, leave that aside, but all of us know what kind of phase he is going through. It was exactly an identical phase which Sachin Tendulkar also went through his career, and please note, Virat at this age is still at only 8,000 test runs, and that guy is somewhere around 15. And when Virat started, we all thought he will easily cross the 15. Now, Sachin Tendulkar, almost similar phase, around the age of 32, 33, similar phase. I'll give you two instances. In home stadium, Wankhede Stadium, test match, evening around 3:45, he was out for some single digit score and was coming out. Footwear was thrown at him at Wankhede Stadium. It's not in some other city, at Bombay, where he is identified with. At that particular stadium, when he was walking back to the pavilion, people threw footwear, and by the time he already crossed 10,000 runs. By the time he has already crossed 10,000 runs, but that was his fate. Now, I'll tell you the second instance. When he wanted to retire, with reasonable glory and acceptance. Before his last two test matches, he went back to play domestic cricket. He went and played Ranji Trophy match at a small town somewhere in Bihar. That Ranji Trophy, all the 4 days or 5 days, stand in the hot sun, test himself for his stamina, how much interest he has. He had to go through all of that stuff and then get back to play the remaining 2-3 tests before he last scored his 70 or something and eventually retired. The point is, practice is super important, no matter who you are. And the best way to come back strongly is always to practice. And enough examples in history on this. And for the CA examination also, mock tests are super important. The branch conducts mock tests. If they are not conducting, ask for it, they will be more than happy to do it. Within your offices, within your friend circle, if there are 7-8 friends, don't try to tell they are not conducting, hence I am not able to do. Sorry, it doesn't work like that. If somebody is not conducting, you have to figure out a way for doing it. 7-8 friends of us, let's meet next Sunday. Let's try to do auditing 4 chapters. 1 out of the 8 students takes responsibility of setting the paper. Come there, all 8 of you sit and write, exchange the answer papers, get it validated. You will know where you stand. Keep keep repeating it. There's so many ways to do it. I'm just giving you one example. If there is a will, the way will automatically come. The point for all of you to understand is mock tests are super important. I am making a very big statement, and 20 years of teaching, 75,000 plus students. If students are failed, it's not because they are not intelligent, not capable. It's only because they went to the exam without match practice, without application practice. And for some of those students, first attempt became match 1, second attempt became, then third attempt, they will practice matches and they passed in fourth or fifth attempt. That is another way of doing practice matches. And I don't think any of you are interested in doing that. But take the mock test very, very seriously. And then, as far as the other elements are concerned, I'll just share a few points and then conclude. As you get closer to examination, at the examination in particular, I'll just like to highlight 2-3 important points and then I'll conclude. When it comes to examination, one of the most important things is time management. There are many children I have come across who do 2 mistakes. First question in the exam, they tend to write for almost 40-45 minutes. Question number 1, they tend to write for 45 minutes or so and somehow try to arrive at the answer. By doing that, they reduce the time available for the remaining 5 questions. So first question has done injustice to you. You do injustice to the remaining 5 questions and the result is not to your expectation. So that's a very, very common mistake. The second mistake which most children do is they are unable to write the whole 100 marks. They are able to write only for 70-80 marks. Thereafter they start scribbling or stop there. Both of these are common reasons for failure which you can overcome only through mock tests. Simple thumb rules is all the 6 questions are important. Each mark is 1.5 minutes. 16 marks question is 24 minutes. 8 marks question is 12 minutes. You need to have the discipline. 16 mark question, 25th minute, and near the answer, take 1 or 2 more minutes, close it. But for some reason, you are not near the answer. For those in CFI will know, in portfolio management, we have what is called stop loss theory. So if you are not near the answer, stop writing that answer, go and write the remaining 5 questions, and when you come back and see, you notice that there is some very basic point which you forgot and now you are able to crack it. What happens is, when you keep looking at the same thing repeatedly, you will never know where the gap is. So that time management is important. I am telling you 2 common mistakes. First is, you spend 45 minutes for the first question and reduce time for the remaining questions. Second is, you write only for 80-85 marks alone. Please note, this is a course or any professional course where if you run 100 meters, you run 100 meters. You can't say, I ran 80 meters very well and I was ahead of the remaining and give me a prize. It doesn't work. You have to run 100 meters. In fact, personally, it never come in the exam, but personally, anyone who is not able to write 100 marks, that paper should not even be considered for value. Personally, that's my view. If you have run 100, you have to run 100. You can't say 80 I ran very well and I was ahead of the remaining, so allow me to take the cup or 80% of the cup. It doesn't work that way. Now, it's important to write the 100 marks, and I would also encourage, as a student I follow this, always write the extra question. You should always have time to write this 7th question. Reason is, out of the 6 questions which you write, we generally write because we think what we write is correct. We will never write something knowing it is wrong. We write something because we believe it is correct. But please know, my understanding of the question, my answer may not be the right answer. So out of 6 questions, it is very, very commonsensical that one question I will not get it right. So if I write that 7th question, I will de-risk myself. So for a 16-mark question which I did not write properly, I might have got 4 marks. If I write the extra 16 marks question, I will get 9 marks. So in which case, 9 will get selected over 4, I will get extra 5. That 5 can make a difference between first rank and 6th rank, 46th rank and no rank, or getting 204 and 199. That 5 marks in a single subject can make so much of a difference. So it's extremely important that you should be good in your time management so that you can even write that extra question. The second important aspect of time management, look at everything around yourself in your life. Whether it is a mobile phone, whether it is an automobile, every product which reaches you goes through a quality test. Why? Go there, go to a cloth shop, go to a department store. After you buy it, come out, there is somebody actually counting. The bill has 12 items, are the 12 items in the back? There is somebody counting. There is always that quality check. So, in your exam also, you should finish 100 marks in 150 minutes. 100 marks in 150 minutes, including extra question. And 30 minutes you have to compulsorily keep for revision. And please know, every exam paper, even if you identify 2 mistakes per paper, 2 mistakes per paper, if paper valuer can find 10 mistakes in your paper, you can find at least 2 mistakes in your paper, and those 2 mistakes are 2 marks, 4 marks, 8 papers, 8 into 2 is 16 marks, and that's the difference. That 16 marks is difference between first rank and 16th rank, between 35th rank and no rank, and between getting 215 and 199. That's the difference. So what is extremely important is the ability to manage your time and build that expertise around handling the time. And then coming to the, what is trying to articulate for you. So now I'll skip all of these in interest of time. So as far as the calculations are concerned, I will just have one important tip for all of you. Whether it is your accounting, taxation, costing papers and all, there is always some amount of calculations to be done. 2 important things. Majority of calculations, you should try to avoid a calculator. It's faster. You should develop that ability. Second is, for those calculations the calculator is required, you should build an experience over time where you should be able to press the digits on the calculator without looking at the keyboard, I know of many students who lose at least 6 or 7 minutes, at the exam, either because they use calculator where it is not required, or they look at the keyboard and then key the numbers. So try to avoid the bit of time at the examination. And at the exam, once you have written the exam, please do not discuss answers with anyone. I am sure everybody will tell you this. Once you have done, it is done. Get back home and prepare for tomorrow. And please note, for any sincere student, even if you have not done very well, 40 marks in that subject will come. If you are not getting 40 in that subject, which means you have not been sincere to yourself, So 40 will certainly come. So if some paper you have not done well, please know, Sachin doesn't score a century every match he goes, doesn't play every ball well. There are those bad moments for him also, and it's true for every great player, every sport, every great player, for you also. Or 8 papers, you can't do all the 8 well. Either the first paper or the third paper or 7th paper, there is something going wrong. You should have that professional, emotional maturity You say that yes, this I missed out, but tomorrow I am tracking it and I'll get that extra 20-30 which will de-risk me from what happened yesterday. So that ability is very, very important. And please note, all of you are familiar, when it comes to any war, it's all in the mind. And if in the mind you are sure that you are going to win, you are going to win. And lastly, I'll share this very personal experience. Of course, these children have heard me in the class whatever time back. For all of you are now in your 18, 19, 20, 21, I'm sure all of you have a reasonably good amount of affection now for your parents. All of us have. But I'll just share with you a couple of emotional moments which I don't want you to lose out. I don't want you to lose out. The day the results come, just always, whenever you feel low, you have to just imagine this. The day the result comes, online you're looking at it, you have passed 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, whatever is the time. The first thing you would do is go and inform your mother. Your mother would give a tight hug to you, and even before you realize, you notice that mother is in the neighboring house or neighborhood telling the neighbor that my daughter or my son has passed intermediate, passed final, as if the child has conquered her, but she tells so proudly, so proudly. Your father, small hug or small kiss on the forehead, and even before you realize, okay, when was the last day you tell this guy had a kiss on your forehead, even before you realize that, your father is on a call with his boss or somebody in the organization and telling very proudly, my daughter, my son is so and so. Stand at one corner and visualize those two moments. Those two moments are the moments of your life. That much joy in their face, that much happiness in their face, I don't think you would have ever given them. Whether it's your 10th, 12th is different, but for a parent, when they know that the child is accepted for society as a professional, it gives a different state for them, different state for them. It doesn't matter late in your life, how much wealth you accumulate, how much you give them, doesn't matter. But those 2 moments of joy, don't deny yourself that. Don't deny yourself that. So those moments of joy are lifetime moments, and that much level of happiness in their face, you'll never ever get to see them. So ensure that you put in all of your efforts sincerely and earn that opportunity of seeing those 2 moments of joy. These are days of nuclear family, children go and settle somewhere. Whatever, all of that doesn't matter, but those 2 moments will be with you forever. And also please realize, God forbid something goes wrong. God forbid something goes wrong. For parents at the age of 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, they will always have that feeling. The parents will always have a conversation. My child could not become a professional. He is working in some organization. Job is tentative. He is doing some business which is tentative. Those kind of moments they keep going through. You have to decide for yourself, do I want to leave those kind of times for my parents where every day at the age of 65 they get up, every day at the age of 70 they get up and feel that my child is earning only so much, my child is having this much life, his old batchmates are doing like this. Do you want to give them that kind of a situation? Or will I put in efforts to ensure that I avoid that situation? So this is a golden period. You have to stay responsible. And please note, friends, I am using the expression friends by choice. Please note, these are aged 18, 19, 20, 21. All of us have gone through. I have gone through, he has gone through, he has gone through, she has gone through, he has gone through. All of us have gone through. These aged, there will always be some age-related issues. There will be age-related issues. Now, it's a test of fire. It is your choice whether you want to get distracted, be ordinary, and be consumed by the fire and become ash, or you have the character to walk through that fire and come out very strongly. And once you are successful, the world is in your hand. The moment you are unsuccessful, please think, I've seen it enough in my life. I've seen it enough in my life. There are people who you think are extremely close to you, but the moment success is not with you, after that, even at a distance, they will not be visible. Hard truth of life. Of course, there will be those one or two very thick friends, but most are in the borderline between acquaintance and a friend. For us to distinguish that itself takes time. And please note, for all of you, this particular age, the ability to not get distracted and to have the test of character. Look at sports personalities also. There are sports personalities who have brilliant talent, but 22, 23, 24, that celebrity status, they got distracted, etc. Their career finished. You know some names. There are guys, whether it's Sachin, Rahul and all, who have been extremely committed to the family. They've never shook beyond that. They've never looked beyond that. Look at the kind of careers they have had and their history forever. So it's all for yourself. In this age of 19, 20, 21, you understand what I'm saying. I'm sure everybody understands. You will have so many of those distractions, whether it is towards a sport or movie or any other age rate. You will have that. Otherwise, there's something wrong with you. You will have that. But the ability to handle that, and stay focused on what I want to achieve. And not to get consumed by that fire and become ash, but to cross strongly with character. And after that, the whole world is in your hand. Everybody is at your command. It is your choice whether you want people to alienate you. People will alienate you. Nobody wants to be part of somebody's life who is not successful. Everybody wants to be part of somebody's life who is successful. I want happiness. Happiness is around success. Happiness is around success. You can speak philosophy, all kind of stuff. But let's be grounded. As a general rule, it's around that. What is success, what is happiness? That's a different debate, different discussion. But at this age, I don't think we need to go to that level of spirituality and try to understand that. But it's very important to have those moments of success for what you're set out for, So best wishes to all of you, and thank you, Sherin and the executive committee for the opportunity.
Given a paper for 100 marks, MPV sir strongly suggests that you should attempt for 100 marks. So those are very wise words, and be confident and brave, and also practice well and go through those 6 levels of golden words which are being given by MPV sir. Sir, thank you very much, sir. As always, it is a very much pleasure to you have Vijayawada. I request the chairperson to give away a memento to MPV sir. I also request the other managing committee members to join chairperson madam at the memento ceremony. I also request Sunil Garu and past chairman Purna Garu and immediate past chairman and immediate past chairman GSR Garu to please join MPV sir and others. Of course, I will thank you all of you. Now, within 15 minutes.